Okay, good morning, everybody. Okay, is that the end of the music, Oz or Carmen, whoever's handling that? Are we rolling?
Yeah. Yes, we're rolling. Fred, Freaky Fred the bot just threw that little bit in at the end. My error.
Thank you, Fred, for your wonderful music. Got to thank the bots. Keep the bots happy. Anyway, good morning, everybody, or lunchtime if you're in Europe, or evening if you're in Australia, wherever you be, whatever you find yourself doing. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for joining us all. We've got a hell of a show lined up. It's good to see all of the regulars filing in nice and early. Prime Mover, hang on. Have we got Prime Mover yet? Yeah, we do. And we got Jenna, Rochelle, Lane, Rochelle. I think I just said Rochelle. But anyway, it's good to see you all here. This is Dumpster Truffles, broadcasting around the world and across the galaxy. You are with Ozanon, Carmen, Puppy Max, and we might get guests later on. Do you guys feel comfortable saying hello?
Hey, y'all.
G'day.
Hey world, this is Puppy Max from the Netherlands, and I want to wish a special friend of mine, Marsha, a good day and enjoy the show if you can.
Beautiful. Okay, this is how we're gonna. This is the plan for tonight. This is how we're gonna roll. We have the first slot, which will be Carmen's devotional. Then we'll have a little bit of music. Then in the second slot, I'm going to talk about deep underground military bases being destroyed by elements of the American military. And then we'll have music. Then I think it would be in the third slot. Puppy's got some absolutely amazing information for you lined up. I'm really looking forward to that section. Then we'll have a bit of music. The fourth slot is something I don't want to address but needs to be addressed, and that is child trafficking. Easter, April 12th, is World End Human Trafficking Day. So that's in anticipation of progress. Let's just say progress. So I'll be talking a little bit about child trafficking. Then we'll have some music. Then the fifth slot is Oz's Notables. And then we'll have music. And once we hit our first 5 slots, we can do as we please. But like any good plan, it is flexible. And if we have to, we can just freestyle or adjust the format. It's flexible. Good morning, everybody. Beautiful to have you here. Any housekeeping issues before Carmen rolls with her section?
Yes. Oh, darn this push to talk. I believe there could be a problem with the volume. Could you just check in with Lane Lair on Chat Dumpster?
Okay, I'm speaking at regular volume. Lane Lair, can you please... can I get a verification, guy?
Or is it the music that's coming through too loud or not to do with us?
I don't think there's much we can do about it at this point. Rough and Ready Broadcasting, as Prime Mover said yesterday, and Oz and On said in the pre-show meeting, we should probably figure out our levels. Not sure what can be done about that on the fly. And Rochelle is already familiar with the concept of the deep underground military bases. So yes, that's the kind of stuff we'll be addressing this evening. And we got a 5x5 from Lane. Okay. Looks like the platform's up and running. The stream gods have been kind to us. Let's hope that the YouTube algorithms don't get rid of our little channel. And Carmen, would you like to take us away with the most important section of tonight's content?
Okay. The scriptures this morning comes from 1 John chapter 2, verses 15 through 17. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world passeth away, and the lust thereof. But he that doeth the will of God abideth forever. I came across a study, and this man put it in words better than I could have ever dreamed of coming up with. His name is Dr. D.W. Ekstrand, and I'd like to read you a little bit of what he said here. He said, the Apostle John writes, do not love the world or the things in the world. Why? Because all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but of the world. And the world is passing away, and all that it craves. But he who does the will of God abides forever. In the first chapter of his letter, John tells us it is not possible to claim fellowship with God and pattern our lives after the world. He repeats this theme throughout his letter. He tells us we must walk in the light and that we cannot simultaneously walk in the light and walk in darkness. As believers, we are not to love the world's ways or the world's goods. To John, the world represents everything that is contrary to a life of faith in God. The world obviously has a different view of how we should live. The postmodern culture in which we live believes that all ideas are equally valid and that we are all free to believe and practice whatever we desire in the name of diversity and tolerance. Thus, in our broad-minded world, more and more people have gravitated toward a hedonistic view of life. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. It is easy for the Christian in this environment to embrace a humanistic view of the world rather than a biblical view. To love and enjoy the society of the world is to have a heart destitute of grace. Be aware of it. The world is a bitter foe to grace. It is an enemy to God. And if you befriend it, you make yourself an enemy of God. Conversely, being a friend to the world is to help it along in some sense, to encourage its spirit, to add to its credibility in the world, and to abet it in some way. What is this world that we are not to love? John tells us it is characterized by three things: the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. The first two refer to desires for what we don't have, and the third refers to the pride in what we do have. The world is driven by a passion for pleasure and pride in possessions. The passion for pleasure involves either bodily pleasures or aesthetic and intellectual pleasures. There is the lust of the gutter and the lust of the gourmet, the lust of the penthouse and the lust of Picasso, the lust of revelry and the lust of classical music. The Apostle John ends his letter with this command: keep yourselves from idols, whether they are crude or whether they are cultured. Anything in this world that is not of God can rob your heart of the love of God and draw you away from God. By the way, the world can never completely satisfy the one who indulges in it. Man must live by every word that proceeds from God, and that is what truly satisfies. The reason we struggle with this injunction is because we have so little understanding of who we really are. For the most part, we still see ourselves as creatures of this world, even though the Bible says we are not of the world. Our day-by-day identification is still more with the world than with heaven. However, the more we continue meditating on the Word, our comprehension of the fact that we are born from above increases, and we find ourselves saying, I am not on earth for the purpose of simply enjoying all of its toys. I am not on the earth for the purpose of seeing what kind of an estate I can build. I'm on the earth to serve the one who redeemed me and walk intimately with him. Progressively, I am identifying more with heaven and less with the world. I find that my affections are increasingly becoming set on things above, not on the things here below. You see, we are on assignment from heaven to show forth the will of the Father and the life of Christ in our mortal bodies. We only need the material things of this world as they are required to fulfill that assignment. We no longer identify with this world and have no covetous lust for all the things that are in it. The truth of the matter is, we don't feel at home on earth anymore. This environment of sin, sickness, war, politics, and poverty does not seem natural to us anymore. Neither does the deceitfulness of riches and the craving for other things. To spend our lives on a quest to satisfy the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life seems totally foreign to us now, because these things are no longer a part of our nature. They are not of the Father, and they have nothing to do with our assignment from heaven. To set our affection on those things is to abandon our assignment from heaven and divert us from the Father's will for our lives. Our nature now is to please the Father and the Lord Jesus. That is the motivational driving force that gives us pleasure. The older we get in Christ, the more we realize how impermanent the things of this world are. Isn't it amazing what a few short years can do to change our thinking about what is really important. The Apostle John identifies 3 different categories to describe this godless world system in which we live. Number 1 is the lust of the flesh. The word lust is the usual term we use to describe an inordinate desire. It may be used to describe any attempt to gratify the senses. Often, but not exclusively, it refers to sinful sexual desire. Lust of the flesh includes all unchaste desires, thoughts, words, jesting, profanity, and actions, carousing, impurity, sensuality, fornication, rape, adultery, incest, sodomy, and all unnatural lusts. The lust of the eyes. The eyes are delighted with treasures and riches. Rich possessions are craved by an extravagant eye, the objects of which are visible things like gold, silver, houses, lands, and possessions, with which the eyes of men are never satisfied. A covetous man has little more satisfaction than the mere beholding of such substance with his eyes, and in which he takes such sinful pleasure. Number 3 is the pride of life. The pride of life has to do with how we live in this body as the natural man. It includes the ambition of power, of chief positions and high titles, as was the case with the scribes and Pharisees, of grand living, living in a sumptuous, luxurious, and pompous manner, in rich diet, costly apparel, having fine seats, palaces, and stately buildings, all which is but vanity and vexation of spirit. A vain mind craves all the grandeur, equipage, and pomp of a vain, glorious life. This is ambition and thirst after honor and applause. In part, this is also the disease of the ear. It must be flattered with adulation, admiration, and praise. The pride of life seems to be the norm for the majority of Christian America. And this is a sad comment here. They devote the majority of their energies to building their estates and keeping up with societal standards. The same attitude runs rampant among many Christian ministries. It is at the heart of competition and one-upmanship. It comes from the deep-rooted desire to be thought better than others. This motivational driving force is not from above, but from the world system here below. As Christians, we have embraced the very things the world has placed such a premium upon: degrees, accomplishment, position, stature, influence, achievement, power, physical beauty, possessions, houses, recreational vehicles, boats, airplanes, clothes, aspirations, and societal respect, much of it the result of societal pressure. Think very carefully about the importance of the things listed above that run your life. The Apostle Paul told Timothy about the backsliding of a friend of theirs named Demas. Demas, having loved this present world, has deserted me and gone to Thessalonica. And that's from 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 10. It is quite sobering to discover how much we value the things of this world. Simply reflect upon how much of your time and wealth you invest in the Lord's work. The vast majority of Christian America has forsaken its mission for the pleasures of this world. Just because our friends love to travel the roads the world finds grand and glorious doesn't mean we must do the same. Prayerfully consider your allegiance to the one who gave his life for you, without comparing yourself to others, which is sheer hypocritical nonsense. Remember, when you chose to believe in Christ, you chose to die to your old way of life and unite yourself with Christ. Father, thank you for this day and for your word. Teach us every day how we can love you more thoroughly by applying your word to our lives. Help us to understand the difference between loving the world and loving the people in the world, to love our neighbors as ourselves, and to love you above all. Thank you for everyone who is here today. Be with each one and pour your blessings out on them. Guide us in our fight for what is right and true. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Carmen. That was beautiful.
Hey, Carmen, this is what I'm thinking.
Amen.
Did you just give us a kick in the pants? Have you reminded us that the only thing that is permanent is our souls and God? Everything else is dirt, and keep the big perspective and maintain strict adherence. That's what I heard out of that passage. Thank you.
That's exactly what he was saying.
Thank you. You've improved the quality of my day already. Thank you very much, Carmen.
When we take our last breath, the only thing that's going to matter is what we've done for the Lord.
Okay, how about a song? And then we'll talk about the destruction of deep underground military bases. If you didn't think the fight is on, I've got news for you. The fight's been going on for months and months.
Okay, here's something to follow Carmen's beautiful prayer.
Beautiful. Thanks, guys. Anything that needs to be addressed before I roll with the deep underground military bases section?
Go for it.
Okay, Carmen, I'm picking this up at number 7 in the sequence. I will start now. Just a moment, folks. I've got to go through my files. Okay, I will pick it up here. There are 4 stages of this prolonged spiritual battle between good and evil, or the evil darkness, forces that stand opposed to the divine plan of the one true living God, those that have dedicated themselves to the service of the one true living God. There are 4 stages necessary to complete in order to win this war against the evil darkness that has descended centuries ago onto our earth and attacked humanity. These are: remove the evil darkness from the space around the earth and maintain permanent supremacy therein. Remove the evil darkness from Earth's skies and maintain a permanent supremacy therein. Remove the evil darkness from the surface of the earth and maintain permanent supremacy therein. And 4, remove the evil darkness from beneath the surface of the earth, under the earth's surface, throughout all tunnels, labyrinths, caverns, and dumbs, and maintain permanent supremacy therein. I don't know, this is my own comment. There are at least 200 deep underground military bases in the United States at the moment. There is also a network of transport tunnels that allow a truck driver to cross the entire country without even seeing daylight. So, stages 1 and 2 have been mostly completed by the Q Alliance, Patriots, and White Hats. And that was removal of the darkness from the skies and space. Stage 3 has had vast advances by the Q Alliance with only a few strongholds left, mainly being China, Iran, and Israel. I can't actually vouch for the veracity of that information, but I will continue. Within these countries, the top leadership are now under White Hat Patriots, and the swamp draining and removal of satanic evil upper echelons is proceeding, and within the branches of those countries' governments. In the US, the swamp draining has seen great advances, and after the 2020 elections are completed, there will be vast changes occurring, starting with massive arrests and military tribunals and execution for those found guilty of treason. Now, stage 4 has already begun, and that is the dumb battle. Just a moment while I manage my files, please. So, stage 4 has begun. The massive under-earth war with the call-up of all branches of the US, great military. Remember that there are 10,000 US military operations. The special forces leading the vanguard using weapons very few have knowledge of or have even dreamed of, is advancing through the immense Illuminati demon forces and vast, interconnected, deep underground military bases, DUMBs, complexes that is connected with nationwide highways and tunnels with magnetic levitating trains, that's maglevs, capable of speeds of up to 1,700 miles per hour. These connect all facilities and dumps throughout the world. We're talking about a whole world under the ground that was synthetically made. These facilities have incredible stores of food, water, DNA, and seed banks, all supplied with autonomous free energy supplies. This is the last stronghold of the satanic Illuminati, ancient evil Nephilim bloodlines of Cain. Evidence of this battle can be seen with fires coming out of sewers, stormhole drains, and manhole covers in California. So, for most of humanity, this under-earth network defies imagination. The vast network was created under Project MK Rand, also known as Alternative 2. So, in the book entitled Alternative 3, author Leslie Watkins stated scientists concerned with the state of the Earth's atmosphere had secret meetings that produced 3 alternatives for handling the imminent danger. Alternative 1. Blast holes through the stratosphere to release heat and pollution. This was done by simultaneous detonations of atomic weapons in the Earth's high atmosphere of the ozone belt in areas where few would notice. Siberia, the Amazon, the Australian outback, and over both poles. This is the cause of the ozone holes. Alternative 2, relocate, that is, relocate the best of Earth's population, which would be compliant slaves and their masters, in a massive underground cavern. And just a moment while I go through my notes, please. Okay, this talks about the actual attacks on the base themselves, these kinds of deep underground military bases. Nuclear-powered drills and neutron bombs are the primary methods used to create and dig these dams underground. The drills go through rocket speeds of up to 60 miles an hour, literally melting the rock away to form smooth glass-like surfaces around the edges of the tunnels. Underground facilities contain computer centers and massive servers, genetic experimentation laboratories, clone mills, mind control research and control systems, and also MK Ultra slave mills and storage facilities, as well as training facilities for these forces. Things like DNA, seed storage, water reservoirs, above top secret weapons and weapon testing, and advanced aircraft facilities, gold and financial storage, food storage for survival of millions for hundreds of years, satanic temples, demonic living areas, fuel storage units, air conditioning, etc., etc., etc. Everything that a society needs to maintain itself for 100 years has already been stashed away in these deep underground military bases. Okay, just a moment while I go through my notes, please. Okay, I just skipped over a section that describes where and how many bases there are. There are lots, all across the entire country. Okay, this is the tail end of this article, and it's rather interesting. I'll read it. I can't vouch for the veracity of it. When martial law was to come into effect in America, the UNISF and UNMNTF, which is the United Nations International Security Forces and United Nations Multinational Task Force, troops are located in the DUMBs in the US and Canada, and they were to be deployed to round up the millions of Americans whose names appear on the Clown Red List and the Clown Blue List. The troops that are making use of these DUMBs are Chinese, Russian, German, Polish, Japanese, Ukrainian, Saudi Arabian, Pakistani, Mexican, Honduran, Salvadorian, Chilean, Vietnamese, etc. Mass detentions in FEMA camps and the deep underground bases, along with mass executions, were planned to occur. A simple search of FEMA camps will show how many converted Walmarts and converted military bases there are for this purpose. Current estimates for troop forces that were to be deployed is 6 million. That's the kind of future we would have been facing without POTUS's help and Q Team's help. That's all I'm going to pull out of this document. You can read it at length. It has videos and links within it. Are there any questions while I dig up the next one? Anyway, guys, we're looking at a network of what are virtually small cities underground across the entire globe. Okay, I'm going to roll with the next article now. And this comes from John Kettler. The link will be provided. A DUM is a deep underground military base, and according to Polymath, Richard Sauder, PhD, there are not only DUMs in such key locations as Edwards Air Force Base, Los Alamos, New Mexico, and Area 51, but a network of super high-speed maglev trains connecting them. There is a map here that shows only part of the national network, but it will admirably serve my purpose here. Make no claim whatsoever, it is current. A source named Don Croft, who appears to have been suppressed by what may have been deep state operatives. Anyway, this information, together with anything else unearthed, forms the background for evaluating claims pro-constitution and lawful military forces may be /are conducting a campaign against deep state, deep underground military bases in Northern California. So I'll repeat that. There are claims that pro-constitution lawful military forces are actually engaged in deep underground battles in Northern California. And I think this document is fairly relevant, and very relevant rather, but also timely. So that conclusion is based on resolving a series of anomalies and strange phenomena observed, felt and heard in California. These range from earthquakes to fire coming out of storm sewers. Okay, broadly speaking, for military analysis purposes, the network may well be thought of as a system of fortifications. The procedures for reducing systems of fortifications have been known and practiced for millennia. The cardinal rule is to put overwhelming force, not necessarily forces, against a small portion of the overall defences. This is best done by targeting a weak point, isolating it, then overwhelming it. Subsequently, using that local success to achieve wider objectives by expanding both the width and depth of penetration. Nor does the attacker, the good guys, the white hats, want the enemy to escape. There should only be two choices, surrender or die. Thus, the purpose of the isolation is twofold: deny help, whether troops, weapons, munitions, etc., or some combination, and prevent escape by those targeted. And this would also include the evacuation of any prisoners held there so that they can be rescued. Various Patriot analysts asserting that the California wildfires, together with other measures taken, constitute operational cover or operational support for just such attacks against DUM bases, with the prelude being the mapping and destruction of the maglev tunnels connecting the California bases with the rest of the network. This would extend that further to include the interconnections with other cabal DUMs in California, not least because they are closest, so most able to respond swiftly if asked for help. Okay, presuming the desired isolation is achieved and the breaches affected into the deep underground military base, troops with specialized training in underground warfare would be a must. Does the US military have such capabilities? Yes, it does, in both the Army and in the Marines. In the latter case, the Marines, an apparent telltale is that in contrast to the Army's openness about what it's doing to prepare for underground warfare, The Marines' underground warfare experts flatly refused to say anything at all when queried. That's good news. Looking at things from the perspective of a highly experienced former intelligence analyst, the picture starts to coalesce when you throw in the arrival of no fewer than 10,000 Marines and sailors for military exercises in California from a COVDEC, which is cover and deception standpoint. You couldn't ask for a better overt excuse to send large numbers of troops into a state in which operations were planned against the deep state. Readers may recall the high-level military intelligence group called Q, or QAnon, many times highlighted the importance of the Marines and stated that the Marines had a special role in protecting the Constitution. So it makes eminent sense to send in the Marines. Would further note, all vast manpower wouldn't necessarily be needed, although it would presumably be on call for certain situations, but that the real teeth, eyes and ears would be and would come in as part of that enormous force. And then it goes through a list of the special forces that are involved. MARSOC, Intel, Signals, Combat Engineers, Navy SEALs, etc. Just a moment while I go through my notes, please. Okay, I'm jumping significantly. I think I'm missing out 3 or 4 paragraphs. You can read that for yourself. The links will be provided. So to recap, every single element described in this analysis offers credible support to the Patriot analyst, posited tunnel destruction, and deep underground military bunker takedown scenario. Every single element. What are the odds of so many disparate elements drawn from a considerable array of sources and basic principles, all cross-confirming a story which sounds like it escaped from the X-Files? As Q likes to ask, do you believe in coincidence? After all that's been presented here, do you? If so, how can you? Further, possible support of the scenario lies in a so far uncorroborated report by a gentleman deeply involved in anti-pedo operations and who apparently has Pentagon sources, maybe even more. Investigative journalist Timothy Charles Holmsteth claims he has a source who he identifies as the commander for a combined SEAL and MARSOC raid into a California dump that resulted in the rescue of 2,100 children. Okay, that's why these people do these things. It's to rescue the children. And I actually would believe this piece of information, that a combined MARSOC SEAL team actually rescued over 2,000 children from the purposes that these evil people put children to. Thus we come... Anyway, then that's all I'm going to pull out of this. The final line is, the education of those willing to learn the truth and respond accordingly. There are many, many links within this document, such as video. Oh, Lord, you're kidding. Okay, I'm going to bring that up so the folks at home can see. Okay, we're looking at a map here where we've got missing children, and then we're looking at a map of US underground facilities and tunnels. The correlation is clear. That's incredibly disturbing. Very nice catch there, puppy. Very nice. I'll just leave the screen up for just another 20 seconds. Yes. Okay, I'm going to roll with the next article. Thank you for drawing my attention to that, puppy.
No worries.
Okay, some of America's richest citizens are buying into a fast-growing movement of well-heeled doomsday survivalists or preppers, investing billions of dollars to secretly prepare for the global apocalypse. The increasing number of billionaires who are participating in the doomsday prepper movement by acquiring elaborate and expensive getaways in isolated and remote spots of the world is causing concern among observers, with many asking whether America's elite knows something the rest of us don't. The public obtained valuable insight into the fast-growing movement consisting of billionaire Silicon Valley and Wall Street preppers who have been secretly buying up vast tracts of land in New Zealand. Just a moment while I manage my files, please. Okay, the acquisition.
Hey,
Yo, go for it.
sorry, Dumpster. Prime Mover has a question there in chat for you. If you could just scroll back a little bit.
Can't actually touch YouTube at the moment. If you feed it into Discord right about now, I can address that immediately. What you got for me, Mover?
Oh, I'm trying to copy it too. Hold on a tick. I can only do one screen. Bugger. Just one moment.
Sorry, guys. Technical setup is not all it should be. And if anyone else has got questions, write them down or jot them down or make note of them. We can have a little bit of discussion. I know a little bit on this subject. Okie dokes, gotcha. Prime Mover says, could these deep underground military bases have been used to ferry away people and children in a way where they would not be found for the duration of their stay in these bases? Mate, they are using these facilities for very nefarious purposes. I wouldn't put that past them at all. And remember, it's a global network of tunnels as well. So think of it as a secret city that is beneath the surface of the nation. I definitely think that, yes, these dumbs have a very sophisticated magnetic levitation rail system. Okay, and we've got one from Rochelle that says, Dumpster Truffles, I am in contact with Gene, the retired 30-year Navy SEAL veteran. He has been giving updates on progress of dumb cleaning. Yes, I'm just introducing the topic in a general way at the moment, Rochelle. We can discuss that all in a minute. It must be a pleasure to know that man. And if you meet him again, thank him for me. Okay, to continue with this article. Super rich Americans are known to have acquired property in New Zealand in the hope of a safe haven if the apocalypse happens to include the billionaire hedge fund investor Julian Robinson and the Hollywood film director James Cameron. According to the Daily Mail, in the first 10 months of 2016, foreigners, mostly Americans and Australians, purchased 1,400 square miles of land in New Zealand, representing more than a fourfold increase over the previous year. Another favorite safe spot for billionaire preppers is Chile. Just a moment, I need to manage my files. Okay, as we know, the billionaires form a secret network of individuals who share ideas, suggestions, and tips on how to survive the apocalypse in private Facebook groups. They also meet to discuss post-apocalyptic survival strategies at exclusive parties and dinners. There was a dramatic surge in the number of Americans who registered to acquire property in New Zealand following the election of Donald Trump as president. Local agents said that most of the estimated 13,000 Americans seeking to purchase property in New Zealand did not intend to live in the country, but they acquired property because they believed the country could provide refuge if there is a political or social upheaval in the US following the general election. And that's what we're seeing now. And Rochelle's got another comment for us. Rochelle Peputsis says thousands have been rescued from Cali Dums. Sad thing is, though, those who have reached adult age are left on the streets. Oh, Lord. My daughter has met one such rescued and fears everyone and trusts no one. Yeah, Rochelle, that's heartbreaking. But progress is progress, and the birth of a new planet doesn't come easily. Thank you for your comment. Okay, to finish off this article, the special attraction to New Zealand is that it is a first world country located strategically thousands of miles away from the world's geopolitical hotspots. New Zealand is far from the ravages of ISIS in the Middle East, the growing social, political, and economic tensions in Europe and North America, and the threat of confrontation between China and the US. Besides nuclear war or financial and political crisis that could lead to social upheaval and collapse, preppers have a long list of other possible catastrophes they hope to avoid by building fortresses in safe spots. This could be a super volcano eruption, a catastrophic asteroid impact, or a massive earthquake that sparks an apocalyptic tsunami. There could be a global viral pandemic, a little ice age, or maybe even an alien invasion of Earth. And there you go, folks. That's the end of that one. Puppy Max, what am I looking at there, brother?
It's another image of two maps.
Okay, I'll bring this up.
The left is right. The left is of underground tunnels, and the right is of U.S. ports.
This correlation means that they're actually being used strategically to move large volumes of God knows what. Oh, Lord.
If you look at the previous image of the missing children, it correlates with underground tunnels. So, they are being abducted, and transported via underground tunnels to the ports.
Yes, what we're looking at is industrial scale murder. That one child dies under these circumstances is an absolute tragedy. I have no frame of reference for the level of this behaviour. It's just beyond me. And if you guys can cover for me for 3 or 4 minutes, I need to reboot my other device.
How about a song?
I'm pretty much at the end of the dumb articles anyway. There's one that I might get to before this evening is over. But hang on.
I'll see if MusicBot will work, hey?
Wow, guys, I'm having bad technical issues. This is going to take me 3 or 4 minutes at least.
And the river opens for the righteous. River opens for the righteous. The river opens for the righteous someday. I was walking with my brother. He said, brother, tell me what's on your mind. I said, what I see with my eyes ain't what I feel in my soul. And we can't turn our backs this time. 'Cause I am a patriot and I love my country. Because my country is all that I know. I wanna be with my family, people who understand me. 'Cause I got nowhere else to go. And the river opens for the righteous. The river opens for the righteous. The river opens for the righteous someday. I was walking with my sister. She looked so fine. I said, tell me what's on your mind. She said, I wanna run like a lion, released from the cages, released from the rages, burning in my heart tonight. 'Cause I am a patriot and I love my country. Because my country is all that I know. I wanna be with my family, with people who understand me. 'Cause I got nowhere else to go. And I ain't no communist, but I ain't no imperialist. And I ain't no socialist, but I ain't no capitalist. And I ain't no Democrat, but I ain't no Republican. I only know one party, that is freedom. 'Cause I am a patriot and I love my country. Because my country is all that I know. I wanna be with my family, people who understand me. 'Cause I got nowhere else to go. And the river opens for the righteous. The river opens for the righteous. The river opens for the righteous someday.
Okay, I'll just quickly jump in. I've got my other system up and running again. Let's have one more song and then I'll be ready to roll.
Dumpster, I'm not sure. Can you hear music? Is there music playing now? I've had to turn the volume down. I can better.
You know, I've been hearing more and more about a thing called fake news.
Okay.
Fake news. I've seen people destroyed, and I think it's very unfair. Some of the media outlets that I deal with the fake news. Fake news. I think it's a disgrace that the absolute disgrace. But I don't think they care. Well, first of all, one of the reasons I'm here today is to tell you the whole Russian thing, that's a ruse. It's a ruse. I own nothing in Russia. I don't have any deals in Russia. Russia is fake news. I just see many, many untruthful things. The press has become so dishonest. The public doesn't believe you people anymore. You have a lower approval rate than Congress. And I've been hearing more and more about a thing called fake news.
Fake news.
I've seen people destroyed, and I think it's very unfair. Some of the media outlets that I do with the fake news.
Fake news.
I think it's a disgrace, the absolute disgrace, but I don't think they care. I'll tell you something, I don't mind bad stories. I can handle a bad story better than anybody as long as it's true. But I'm not okay when it is fake. It's all fake news. I mean, it's story after story after story. We're not gonna let it happen again. The public gets it. When I go to rallies, they want to throw their records to CNN. Here's the thing. I want to see an honest press. I want to see an honest press. I want to see an honest press. It's so important to see an honest press. I want to see an honest press. I want to see an honest press, but our nation's reporters will not tell you the truth. So I'll go over just some of them.
MSNBC,
You are fake news.
The New York Times,
You are fake news.
CBS, NBC, ABC,
BBC, LA Times,
You are fake news.
The Washington Post,
You are fake news.
CNN,
Very fake news.
Politico, AP,
HuffPo, BuzzFeed,
Failing pile of garbage. I've been hearing more and more about a thing called fake news.
fake news.
I've seen people destroyed, and I think it's very unfair. Some of the media outlets that I deal with the fake news.
Fake news.
I think it's a disgrace, the absolute disgrace, but I don't think they care.
Okay, technical issues squared away. We are back up and running. Puppy, you want to take third slot, my friend?
Don't worry, okay.
Yes.
Right on. Okay, guys, I'm going to start with reading from the book A Day at a Time, Reflections for the Day. The day is March 27th, and the reflection for the day is: storing up grievances is not only a waste of time, but a waste of a life that could be lived to greater satisfaction. If I keep a ledger of oppressions and indignations, I am only restoring them to painful reality. In Lewis Carroll's Through the Looking Glass, hey, that sounds familiar. The horror of that moment, the king said, I shall never forget. You will, though, said the queen, if you don't make a memorandum of it. The question is, am I keeping a secret storehouse for the wreckage of my past? God, keep me from harboring the sludge from the past, grievances, annoyances, grudges, oppressions, wrongs, injustices, put-downs, slights, hurts. They will nag at me and consume my time in rehashing what I might have said or done until I face each one. Name the emotion it produces in me, settle it as best as I can, and forget it. May I empty my storehouse of old grievances. Today I will remember, don't rattle old bones. Right, and now, let's talk about what I got for y'all. Okay, we'll start, hold on, I need to go to my room first. Okay, we're starting with, something that happened last week on Friday, and I hadn't seen anything until today. Someone posted a report from Pamela Geller, the Geller report, and it was about an attack in Barcelona. And it says, on March 20th, that was last Friday, there was an alleged Islamic terrorist attack in El Prat, Barcelona airport. Barcelona airport attack. Driver plows through terminal doors in botched Islamist plot. 2 men have been arrested after crashing a car into the interior of Barcelona's El Prat airport yelling Islamic-type slogans. Police have not ruled out terrorism as the motive. The city's police force confirmed 2 men tried to storm the Terminal 1 building at 5 a.m. local time on Friday. The man got as far as the food court. Oh, and then you're sitting there eating a hamburger in the building and were reportedly shouting Islamic slogans before they were quickly arrested. The SPET was also quickly on the scene to investigate the car for any explosives, but no devices were found. No weapons, no ammunition were discovered in the vehicle either. There were no injuries reported, and the airport also remains open and is operating as normal as possible. Authorities are not completely ruling out terrorism as a motive. The MSM just buried that. And okay, then there's an article about the superseding indictments unsealed today, and that was March 26th. Barr announced that Nicolas Maduro, indicted by the Justice Department and charged with narco-terrorism. And the start of that, when he starts to speak, is at made a timestamp mark 15 minutes and 50 seconds. And he's talking about 250 metric tons of cocaine being smuggled to the United States, and it involves in total 11 persons, including some high-ranking Venezuelan people. An article that Shatters on YouTube sent me, and I looked into it. It was a long read, and I got to the hold on. This is about iPod's video. iPod's video is 50 minutes long, 59 minutes long. It's called The Bite Part 1. And he talks about everything and starts with adrenochrome. And I made a little summary. One, go as far back as the early 1950s, I mean. Using iron compounds, adrenaline oxidizes to adrenochrome and melanin. In the mid-60s for its anti-anxiety properties, and which were proven. The studies in the mid-60s also showed that adrenochrome has hallucinate properties. It resembles LSD. There was a book written about it. It's called The Hallucinogens by Hoffman Osmond in 1967, and the link is below. There were 2 authors called Cadet and Lohr. They proposed the use of adrenochrome before the Dimension Precox Committee of the Scottish Rite Masons, there you have that name again, in New York in 1952. That was. A study in 1981 describes the use of adrenochrome in psychiatry and its effects on causing, schizophrenia. And in 1987, the researchers Cadet and Lohr came to the same conclusion. Item in the video, because it goes from one item to the other, is about EpiPens and epinephrine, which is when it expires oxidized into adrenochrome. Okay, now I go to the article about the adrenochrome bust you never heard about. It's my remarks on the article. It's an interesting read, but things with regards to the amount of weight of adrenochrome caught and the value do not add up. So I'm starting with the first line. It says a truck carrying 20 kilos, which is 44.1 pounds of adrenochrome, was confiscated, and it says worth at least $100 billion in research pricing. And then my remarks is $100 billion divided by 20 kilograms is $5 billion per kilo. Further down, it says it's the average value is 1.5 billion per kilogram. So there's a difference of a slight difference of 3.5 billion kilograms. The cargo was shipped from Côte d'Ivoire via a shell company named AJAS Shipping and Freight. And agencies around the country intercepted 15 truck trailers carrying 20 kilos, 44.1 pounds of adrenochrome each. And that mentions 1,200 kilograms or 12.200 pounds. 1 kilo is worth 1.5 billion on the market. There you have it. And my remark is 15 times 20 kilograms is 300 kilograms. Where does the 1,200 kilogram come from? And okay, so it continues. All shipments were headed for a reservation in the Yukon Territory in Canada. That reservation has a copper mine, and copper is needed for synthetic adrenochrome production or extraction conversion into adrenochrome from indigenous epinephrine secreted via the adrenal glands. And that sounds very ominous. Adrenochrome is a neurotoxin, a date-rape drug, mental schizophrenia inducer, and used in unofficial roles as booster to support potent opioids for targeted killings per those classes. The U.S. Secret Service was contracted and shown all the evidence and explained about finding out about the trucks due to finding 100 billion worth of potential cash. Well, 4.5 to 4.6 trillion in total was trying to cross the international border, they claim. Okay, so my remark is 300 kilograms times 1.5 billion is 450 billion. Where does the 100 billion come from and the 4.5 to 6 trillion in total come from? It's pretty confusing. The USS United States Secret Service agent said that with the 15 trucks caught, it is likely that 50 to 60 more had crossed the border successfully for a handoff to new drivers in Calgary. Okay, my remarks on that is 50 to 60 more trucks. Now let's take an average. 45 plus 60 is 105, divided by 2 is 52.5. Let's make that 53. Adding the 15 trucks that were stopped makes 68 total. Times 20 kilos. 68 times 20 kilos is 1,360 kilos. Times 1.5 billion is 2.04 trillion. So, which is more than half the estimates given earlier of 4.5 trillion to 6 trillion. So, that's an interesting article, and I have to dive deeper into it, but it's pretty confusing. And then there's an image of, oh yeah.
Okay, so what you're describing is not, it's an industry. That's a massive industry, and I'm wondering how many dead people for that much adrenochrome.
Yeah, well, but there is a discussion, and the video of iPod that I have mentioned, the Byte Part 1 and the Byte Part 2 is coming soon, he addresses that into detail. So it's a long video, but it's very interesting because he goes through adrenochrome, in epinephrine, into all sorts of other stuff, in research that has been done, and it's worth watching it. And I'm already looking forward to Part 2 of the Byte. Yes, it is it's a business.
Vampires, literal vampires.
Bambi vampires. Okay. Any more questions?
Please.
Okay, there's an image of I took from a posting. It's from Roy W. Spencer, and he says, "Wow." On the subject of using anti-malarial drugs for COVID-19 treatment, I've compared COVID-19 cases versus malaria incidents by country. This is amazing. I downloaded all the data for 234 countries, incidents of total COVID-19 cases as of March 17, 2020, versus the incidences of malaria in those countries, various sources, kind of messy, matching everything up in Excel. The results: multi-country average malaria cases per 1,000, COVID-19 cases per million. So that should give you a big difference. In 3 classes of countries based on malaria incidence. The top 40 malaria countries, there were 212 malaria cases and just 0.2% COVID cases. The next 40 malaria countries, there were 7.3 malaria cases, resulting in 10.1% of COVID-19 cases. The remaining countries, 81 to 234, there were 0 malaria cases and 68.7% of COVID-19 cases. The units of malaria cases are per 1,000 population at risk, and those of COVID-19 cases are per million total population. And he says, in all my years of data analysis, I have never seen such a stark and strong relationship. Countries with malaria basically have hardly or any COVID-19 cases, and those that don't have malaria have the most cases. Interesting. Any questions?
I'm still stuck on the adrenochrome thing. What is the... Oh, no, seriously, how many people does it take to make that amount of adrenochrome? What is the... Are they farming people or harvesting people or killing people outright? And Jenna Elaine has a really good question. What happens if a person becomes addicted to adrenochrome and then the withdrawal symptoms, would they kill them perhaps?
Depends on the person, him or herself. And also, again, in the iPod video, the Byte Part 1, he describes that because there have been researches about that, and it describes the effects of addiction and such. So yes, and because it is hallucinative, there must be an addiction. You obviously people get addicted to it. And about the harvesting, I don't want to, but if I think about the children missing deep underground tunnels and the ports, I fear that a lot of kids are being forced to harvest it on each other. More fear, adrenochrome comes from insulin. When someone is scared, he or she produces more insulin. And the more insulin, the better the quality of the adrenochrome. So they torture the kids, they make them scared, and the more scared they are, the higher the percentage of insulin, and the better the quality of adrenochrome. And then it is harvested via the pineal gland. I don't want to know how that happens. I find it disgusting. And then, when the kids are of no use, who knows what happens with them then?
I actually have some information on that topic coming up, but please continue. You've got the crowd engaged, that's for sure. And can I just say good morning, Gold Star?
Good morning, Gold Star. All right, then there is this another shot. I don't know where it was posted. It was sent to me by someone on Facebook, and it's very hard to read. I tried to find a larger image of it, and it's a call from a company called Tactile Revolution LLC, and it says Tactile Revolution LLC is looking for 50 males and 5 females ages 18 and up to participate in an exciting training exercise. And that the dates are for Monday through Friday, March 23rd, 27th, 2020, times to be determined, and that's in Houston, Texas and surrounding areas. And then from Monday through Thursday, March 30th to April 2nd, 2020, times to be determined. If you sign up to work all 9 days and do so without default, you will be guaranteed a minimum of $1,440 in pay. That was interesting because it says the message when I got it says false flag approaching.
If I may, there's a comment from Regina out in chat. Regina says they need the pituitary gland for their drug as well. As I understand their customs, they eat the pineal gland of the human brain raw and get high off it.
It was mentioned in the video as well, yes. Okay, thank you for that remark.
Hang on a minute. Do you want to tell us about Kuru? There are people out there who yet don't know what Kuru is.
I don't know what Kuru is. I have to look into that.
Oh, okay. I'll give a quick explanation. When the brain is eaten raw, you can pick up a viral infection called Kuru. If you remember the mad cow scare in Britain, quite some time ago, it was called bovine spongiform hydroencephalitis, and it was transmitted to cattle by feeding cattle the waste products of the meat industry itself. And in Kuru, eating human brains can transmit that virus causing the kind of stuff we see Hillary Clinton doing, like being thrown into a van and not being able to speak and so forth. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, mate.
Right ahead, I can catch my breath. Alright, the next article is, I haven't opened it, but Ozanon can post it in chat. It's about the U.S. Navy launches live-fire missiles in warning to China. And it's from the South China Morning Post. Unusual drill in the Philippine Sea, a signal to PLA that American forces can counter advanced threats, military observers say. That. And then there's for those that like to meditate and help the world to get better, there's an urgent call is going out, has gone out yesterday to the world for 1 million meditators to liberate and reclaim our world on April 4th, 2020 at precisely 10:45 p.m. U.S. Eastern Standard Time, which is 3:45 a.m. Central European Time and 1:45 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So drop the link and people who are interested can look into that. And then there's a video from, and I think it was described earlier, or not, maybe I'm wrong. It's from, it was, and Q even mentioned it in his most recent post. It's Educating Liberals posted this video on his Twitter account, and it's called The Truth by Page Angels. And there's a link to the video, or at least, yeah, to the video. And Q says it's post 3899, the silent war continues. And the video is just 4 minutes and 20 seconds long.
Do we have the go-ahead to play that?
I tried, I have not gotten a response yet.
Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it. I'm going to stop every 25 seconds, make comment on the video, and then continue with it.
Good.
Stand by,
Okay.
please. Can we have radio silence?
I will.
You won't be able to hear or see the video, but YouTube will. I'm going to play the link right now. Just a moment. Stand by, please.
Although this virus may be very real, the panic that is being created is completely unwarranted. Crashing the market, frightening the citizens, and stressing out the population, all because a bunch of sadistic assholes want Trump out of office before he exposes their crimes.
Just a moment. I've got to make comment. That man's wearing a tie.
Somehow, they even managed to create a shortage on toilet paper products when there's not even one intestinal symptom to this virus. The media and the Democrats are playing us like a bunch of puppets, and all this is doing is revealing people's greed, pettiness, and selfishness. Meanwhile, while you wealthy liberal do-gooders smile as our economy falls, and the events around the country shut down, the people that you claim to care about no longer get tips at work. They
And I have to make a comment. This is pretty interesting.
no longer get customers in their small businesses, and are no longer able to pay their rent. I remember how the last pandemic went down, and Obama was a failure compared to how the president has handled this. No matter how you spin it, Trump was on top of this as well as anybody could have been. He took control of a black swan that nobody ever expected. It is damn well obvious that if Trump could walk on water, you snowflake traders would just say he couldn't swim. Whether you like him or hate him, you think this would be the time to drop the political charade and be part of the solution instead. Every Democrat politician and mainstream media source referred to this virus as the Wuhan or the China virus, and the internet is filled with examples. Yet you self-righteous media monkeys virtue signal us and call us racist. You have quite literally started getting your talking points from the Chinese Communist government-run media. You have to ask yourself, how and when did China get so much power over our country? However, None of this even compares to the actions of the junk-babbling harpy and her liberal sycophants. You act as if our president is not doing everything he should, and you blame him for your slow crawl. If there was ever a time where we need to work together for the people, it is now. The bill that goes to Senate should be fast, to the point, and clean. And somehow you think it's okay to add things like abortion funding into this bill, something that you know conservatives cannot be more against? This is political extortion and just another example of how little people matter to you. This means one of two things. You either have zero empathy for the common man, or you know that this pandemic is not as dire as you claim. While you think the majority of the population is falling for this ruse, let me tell you what the people are really noticing. We notice that the media is completely dishonest, creating panic when our leader is trying to create calmness. We see how the media is more focused on political semantics and disrespecting our president than they actually care about the threat. We realize that we are dependent not only on supplies from another country, but a country who was our enemy and started this whole problem to begin with. We realize that our economy is too easily influenced by a few wealthy people, and we have a Federal Reserve System that does not care about uncontrollable circumstance. We see that the elite will happily watch us suffer for their needs, knowing that their financially secure situation can ride this pandemic out. We are becoming aware that colleges can be done from home, and the expenses associated with higher education can be reduced to necessity without other needed costs. But most importantly, we realize how much we rely on others to survive it all. My friends, the truth lies in the reality that you see and hear in your daily routine. No matter how much the media tries to convince you otherwise, the truth is always in front of you, behind you, and around you. If you just turn off the television and the media for a few days, you will see the reality without the confusion of indoctrination and forced perspective. Take this quarantine and make the best of it, understanding that not all is what it seems. Put down your phones, enjoy the time with your families, and get to know one another again. Write the book that you've always talked about. Paint a work of art. Just enjoy the things that we have taken long for granted. These were the things that God wanted us to focus on anyways. This is a subtle opportunity to unplug ourselves from the economic and social matrix that we have become oblivious to. This event does not have to be something that holds us captive to fear. It can be a reminder of how fragile mankind can be, and something that brings us closer to things that are more important. It's a moment of humility as we start to notice again all the hardworking people that remove our waste, stock our grocery shelves, truck those goods across the nation, and grow our food from the seed. It is an opportunity to once again come together as a nation run by people rather than the people.
Some music, maybe?
A chance to break the chains of a government-controlled world and once again become the many great nations under God.
I believe Scope has asked us to hold the board. He's got something.
Actually, I was doing this for Dumpster so that Dumpster could get through his video.
Thank you, Scope. Your video's over. How are we doing, Scope?
Oh, doing good this morning. How about you guys? Sorry I joined so late. A lot going on for me this morning, but I'm glad to.
Very glad to have you aboard, sir. How are you?
Oh, doing well. We had a possible reported case of COVID-19 within our group. So we've been asked to stand down until we can get the test results from this individual to come back so that we can proceed with the work that we do.
Understood. Good luck. God bless.
Yes, I hope all turns out well, and that you're safe and sound, Scope, and everyone else too.
Yes, thank you. It involves around 8 of us technicians, lab technicians, and we are keeping our fingers crossed for this guy. This individual is an elderly man. He has asthma, and he also, has had an operation where it left him one kidney. So we're praying for him and hoping that things turn out well for him. We're thinking that maybe he just may have a touch of the flu, but he has reported some of the symptoms that go hand in hand with the flu and with COVID-19. So we're hoping the best for him and his family. And, of course, every one of us are monitoring ourselves and waiting for his results to come back. I think that we'll have them hopefully by end of day today, or if not, over the weekend sometime, and we can be told whether we can go back to work or whether we have to stand down and have the place disinfected. Thank you, Carmen. Thank you for your prayers. And all of you, thank you.
Yes, definitely in our prayers, Scope, and
Yep.
I hope.
Praying for
How
him.
long? How quickly will the results come back? Sorry, I think I might have missed that.
Oh, that's okay. We're hoping for the results to come back today. If not today, then over the weekend. This individual left, Monday afternoon, not feeling well. Tuesday seemed to be a little worse, and called our work to tell them and inform them. And at that time, he also went to get tested that Tuesday, this last week. So here we are, sitting on Friday, waiting for the results to come back. So hopefully it won't be too much longer, but just as a precaution, we've been asked to work from home, do what we can, and just kind of stay away from the office until we find out for sure.
Excellent.
Okay.
Maybe a song, and then I'll roll with the child trafficking information that I have. I was pointed at this because April 12th is World Child Slavery Exploitation Day. I forget the exact term, but we have to keep that in our minds at the moment. And remember also that at this point in time, them in the kill box, they're going through a binge on their remaining commodities. Let me put it that way. So there's some dark stuff going on in the world at the moment that is unavoidable at this point.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'm sorry. From the short time that I've been on here, I've, I heard you touch on some very, very sharp topics and some very choice red pills, and it's great to get the word out that there are some nefarious, very deep, dark things that are happening behind the backs of people of the world, and unfortunately, it's time for that information to come out and have people make their choices.
Spot on. And may I say a very big welcome to Gold Star Mum. She's the newest member of our team. And Gold Star, if you want to introduce yourself, please. And remember that Gold Star, this platform is available to you to propagate whatever information you need. You can decide your own level of involvement, but I'm very, very happy to have you on board.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, friends. And good morning to friends I haven't met yet.
Good morning, Gold Star Mom, and welcome.
Good morning, Gold Star. So glad to have you here.
Guillermo was not going to let me sleep today. So he's, get up, so I'm up.
I like him already.
He's a good kitty.
There's one more thing I wanted to address.
Yes, please go ahead.
All right. I have an item called, it doesn't have a name. We remember that Q posted the silent war continues. The first one was on February 7th of this year, post 3837, and he says the silent war, or they say the silent war continues, and it has 5 dots at the end. The next post was the next day, on February 8th, post 3843, the silent war continues, 4 dots. February 12th, post 3856, the silent war continues, 2 dots. Next post on February 25th, the silent war continues, two dots. It looks like a countdown. So everyone was expecting the next to say the silent word continues, one dot, and then something happened. But in his most recent post, which is post 3899, Q writes the silent word continues with two dots. So we're still at two dots. And the silent word correlates with post 3903, where Q says, in brackets and bold, infiltration instead of invasion. And JFK spoke those exact same words during his speech about secret societies. So, message. And that was my contribution for today. I need some oxygen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Puppy.
Puppy, before you clock off, can you tell me what the significance of those dates is? I'm not going to put too much stock in it because I've been disappointed in the past. I'm just going to keep my head down and keep plugging away. Do you really reckon we are at the point now where the plan is going into effect? What's your personal opinion, Puppy?
My personal opinion is that the plan has already gone into effect, that they're already started it. And the expectation is that Q's next post, the silent word continues with one dot, will be linked to events that are about to happen in the world. And I think it is all connected. I'm not quite sure, but I think it's all connected to 4/10/20, April 4th, April 10th, 2020, which appears to be a big day because both Q and Trump knew it in posts and tweets. So all we can do is just wait and see.
Right, excellent. Before we roll with music, Goldstar, do you have anything that needs to be brought to the public attention? If so, do you want to get that ready while we play a song? And then we will roll with the slot 4 in the show, which is all about child trafficking.
Hey, Dumpster. I'm not sure how many people know, but the numbers 4/10/20, when you look at that, they're in the alphabet. That's DJT, Donald J. Trump.
Another little Q proof.
I forgot to
That's
mention
the one
that.
I
Thank
hang
you,
on
Stoke.
to every day. Okay, shall I play a song?
Hang on, I think Puppy just wanted to say something real quick, and then we'll hear a bit of music.
I just wanted to say to Scope that I forgot to mention that.
Excellent.
DJT.
Oh, that's
DJ.
quite all right.
Right.
That's why it takes all of us.
Sweet music.
Well, I knew.
Everyone deserves music.
Let's dance.
Dance, freaks. Okie dokes, folks. Now I'm going to roll with the section, slot 4 of the show, child trafficking. Just a moment while I go through my files, please. First article is, what are we talking about? Okay, this comes from Save the Children. Child trafficking is a crime that exploits girls and boys for numerous purposes, including forced labor and sex. Because child trafficking is lucrative and often linked with criminal activity and corruption, it is hard to estimate how many children suffer, but traffic and exploitation is an increasing risk to children around the world. When human trafficking occurs, children are often trafficked for commercial sexual exploitation or for labor, such as domestic servitude, etc. And I would say there are other worse options too. So some brief facts about child exploitation. There are more than 200 million children engaged in child labor, with 115 of those engaged in hazardous work, sometimes sold by a family member or an acquaintance, sometimes lured by false promise of education and a better life. The reality is that these trafficked and exploited children are held in slave-like conditions. So how can we end child trafficking? Thanks to supporters like you, Save the Children's child protection experts work to combat child trafficking through prevention, protection, and prosecutions. In order to maximize our efforts, we work with communities, local organizations and civil society, and national governments to protect children from being exploited and to help restore the dignity of children who have survived. With our help, they can. And that's the end of the first article. That's just, what are we talking about here? We're talking about 200 million kids. That's 200 million children who need to be rescued. This is why we fight. This is why we are gathered here right now. I need to pop open my next article. If there are questions or comments, I'd love to hear them. Okay, this comes from the Love Truth site, and this one's actually a very disturbing article. Okay, unlike what you've been led to believe, child kidnapping and child trafficking right here in America is being done on an industrial scale that most can barely fathom. Just a moment. Okay, the buying and selling of little children is the mark of a society that has lost all of its morals and is on the path of self-destruction. Decadence and depravity always come before the fall of any empire. Godlessness and heathenism flourish, and the members of the doomed society revel in their own debauchery before the hand of God comes in to destroy the entire culture, as was done in the days of Sodom and Gomorrah. America is at the precipice and is hanging on now only by a single thread. I would say that's not my assessment of the situation, but for one way or the other, something has to give at this point. We need change. The worst part of all of this is that so-called Christians and so-called New Agers who claim to have extensive spiritual knowledge and understanding stay silent and say nothing while this crime against children happens on their watch. God is watching carefully. Just a moment while I zip through the rest of this article, please. Actually, that's all I'm going to pull out of this article. Basically, the upshot of that article was, if you are not working against the problem, you are part of the problem. And at the end of the day, people have to stand up and take responsibility for industrial scale of children being trafficked. And as I said earlier, just one child would be an absolute abomination. What we are looking at is an industrial scale processing of people as though they were just a commodity. This is the most callous and disrespect for human life imaginable. Just a moment while I go through my files, please. If you have comment or question, now is the good time. Okay.
Yeah, Dumpster, I think that.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think that I'm just going to let a comment out there that, you know, as we move forward, a lot of us are going to find out that, you know, this was something that was set up throughout the world, throughout very many places in the world, and that they had rat lines, what I like to call rat lines, that they used to traffic these children. And a lot of these rat lines have now been shut down, and a lot of the areas that used to supply the children have also been shut down. And the white hats and the good guys are working tirelessly every day to get out there and find these people and shut them down. And it's taking place right under our noses. We may not see everything. We have been hearing a lot, but we may not see all of it. So just wanted to bring that to the forefront.
Very sober words. It's underway, and that's good. That's an uplifting message. Thank you, Scope. Okay, next article. Jumping in about 1/3 of the way through. The trafficking in children internally in countries and across national borders and across continents is closely interlinked with the demands for cheap, malleable and docile labour in sectors and among employers where the working conditions and the treatment grossly violates the human rights of children. And that's the thin edge of the wedge, is my comment. These are characterised by environments that are unacceptable, the unconditional worst forms, as well as dangerous to the health and development of the child. These forms range from bonded labour, camel jockeying, child domestic labour, commercial exploitation and prostitution, drug couriering, and child soldiering to exploitive or slavery-like practices in the normal industrial sector. And again, this document doesn't address the worst of the situation. I will continue. As part of the larger initiatives to combat the worst forms of child labour, the ILO International Programme on the Elimination of Child Labour, IPEC, works with governments, workers and employers, organisations and NGOs to fight child trafficking. Where appropriate, services are offered at source, in transit and at destination. This program takes into account the national, sub-regional and regional specificities of the root causes of children's vulnerability, mechanisms and routes used by traffickers, the nature of exploitation that takes place, as well as legal and cultural contexts. So, the mission is, through a global multi-stakeholder partnership, to mobilise state and non-state actors to eradicate human trafficking by 1. Reducing both the vulnerability of potential victims and the demand for exploitation in all its forms, 2. Ensuring adequate protection and support to those who do fall victim, and 3. Supporting the efficient prosecution of the criminals involved while respecting the fundamental human rights of all persons. I could have gone much darker with this topic, but the articles I selected talk about solutions and the problem being solved. I don't want to present anything that's alarmist. I certainly don't want to present anything that's going to ruin someone's day. This is sensitive information. I understand that entirely. I think I have just one more article to go through. Okay. This comes from whitehouse.gov.au. Donald J. Trump is working to end human trafficking. Go POTUS! And we start with a quote from the man himself. My administration will focus on ending the absolutely horrific practice of human trafficking. And I am prepared to bring the full force and weight of our government, whatever we can do, in order to solve this horrific problem. Human trafficking is an affront to human dignity. Human trafficking, also known as modern slavery, affects people from all backgrounds at home and abroad, placing millions into a sickening form of exploitation. Per the International Labour Organization, the ILO, there may be as many as 24.9 million victims of forced labour across the world, with millions going unidentified and unseen. Children are especially vulnerable to this evil practice, as they account for 25% of modern slaves. Victims are compelled to perform labour or commercial sex acts through the use of fraud, force, or coercion. This reduces the value of human lives to that of mere commodities. The United States is a source, transit, and destination country for men, women, and children, both in the United States citizens and foreign nationals victimized by human trafficking. And we've touched on that subject three or four times tonight. So that would be the Department of Homeland Security's, the DHS, Immigration and Customs Enforcement Homeland Security Investigations, initiated 833 human trafficking cases, resulting in 1,602 arrests and 578 convictions. And most importantly, this is critical, it also identified 518 victims of human trafficking. So that's 500 souls who are free to build a life for themselves, safe from the horror. And the HHS-funded National Human Trafficking Hotline reports of 8,686 unique cases of potential trafficking in 2017. 21,644 potential victims were identified, which means, as Scope said, it's an ongoing situation. To talk about the money, annual illicit profits from human trafficking were estimated to be as high as $150 billion, demonstrating the substantial economic scale of this abhorrent criminal industry. And the next section says, protecting the innocent. President Donald J. Trump is taking a stand against human trafficking, dedicating our government's full resources towards fighting this repulsive crime. The President's Interagency Task Force to monitor and combat trafficking in persons is working tirelessly to address all aspects of human trafficking, as defined by the Trafficking Victims Prevention Act. It is the policy of the United States government to address trafficking via the 3 Ps, and that is prosecution of traffickers, protection of victims, prevention of human trafficking. In March 2018, the President appointed 9 human trafficking survivors to serve on the U.S. Advisory Council on Human Trafficking for terms of 2 years. So people who actually survived human trafficking are now policy directors to deal with the problem. In September 2017, Ivanka Trump and Deputy Secretary of State Sullivan joined more than 20 leaders at the United Nations General Assembly for a global call to end modern slavery and announced the State Department's $25 million grant to the Global Fund to End Modern Slavery. And jumping ahead slightly, the order directed the United States government to identify, interdict, disrupt, and dismantle the transnational criminal organizations that engage in human trafficking. In the light of the impending Senate vote on H.R. 1865, the Foster-Sester legislative package designed to fight online sex trafficking, the Trump administration is hosting a roundtable on human trafficking to review and discuss the path forward on this critical issue. And that's the end of that document. And I will again remind you, I could have dug up any number of horror stories. I could have described in detail the situation, but I instead chose articles that show light at the end of the tunnel and that progress is being made. And I have to believe that, because just one child alone, that would be well over, that would be a line in the sand. But we're talking about millions of children. This is the most.
That's some breaking news.
Go for it, puppy.
Boris Johnson tested positive for COVID-19.
Was that Boris Johnson?
Boris Johnson of the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I popped it up on the screen a little while ago, but I think it was a bit busy. Thanks, puppy. That's all.
Thank you.
Anyway, guys, that's the end of the slot. Chitter chatter or song or whatever you want to do. Notables by Oz coming up soon. Or we can do as we please. Okie dokes, folks. Looks like we got Sativa Breeder in the house. Before we roll with Sativa's truth bombs, I know he's got something lined up because he always does. Gold Star, is there anything you need to address at the moment? Are you awake yet? Critical information for the people listening.
Addressing getting my second cup of coffee.
Good for you. G'day, Sativa. How are we?
Sativa.
I see you've got your Discord issues figured out. Was it the NDS, as Sid was saying? Okie dokes, folks. Shall we run through some of the notables?
Okay, there. I've transferred some over to your DM, dumpster friend.
Gotcha, dear. Okay, we start off in Australia. Just a minute while I pop this one open. Okay, this comes out of The Guardian. And the TGA investigating Clive Palmer-funded ads claiming hydroxychloroquine can... Just a minute, I've got pop-ups. Okay, so we've got a politician called Clive Palmer who looks a lot like Jabba the Hutt from Star Wars. Anyway, the TGA is investigating Clive Palmer-funded ads claiming hydroxychloroquine can cure coronavirus, which I believe is actually true. So, prominent advertisements paid for by former federal politician Clive Palmer, which promote a malaria drug as a potential cure for COVID-19, are ethically immoral, according to Professor Peter Collington, a former World Health Organization advisor who worked on Australia's response to the SARS virus. I'm just going to jump to the end of this one. Okay, the Royal Australia College of General Practitioners President Dr. Harry Nespolon warned hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine are not cures for COVID-19 and they should not be used to protect patients from the virus until clinical trials are complete and the regulatory authorities have given the all clear. He said he supported the TGA's move to place new tight restrictions on who can write prescriptions for the drug following widespread shortages for people who need it to treat autoimmune conditions. That's all I'm going to pull out of that one. So it's this hydroxychloroquine. It's a very contentious issue at the moment, the best information I have to hand at the moment is that yes, in conjunction with another drug, it has a 100% success rate. And next we've got Scott Morrison, our Prime Minister, discussing the coronavirus. I'm not even sure I want to pop that one open. Anyway, Prime Minister Scott Morrison.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay, Dumpster. Move on.
You got it, Oz. Okay, the next one.
Good morning, Discord.
Oh, there he is. How you doing, bros?
I'm sorry I had connection problems. How are you guys this morning?
Full of beans, rocking and rolling.
Good to hear you, Sativa.
Good morning, all you Anons. Good morning, YouTube. Good to see you, Patriots.
Good to see you.
Mate, get the crowd revved up like I know you can.
On the subject of the chloroquine, we've been seeing a massive upsurge in people buying quinine-related products here. Specifically, they're selling out with tonic waters, and people are stocking up left, right, and centre. So this seems to be spreading through Europe that this stuff helps. My wife was quite ill about 5 nights ago, and we thought that she was going to really go down and be ill through the night until the next morning. We got a litre of Nordic tonic water into it with some fresh fruit that night, and the next morning the difference was remarkable. She's been ill on and off throughout, but we seem to have kept anything bad at bay with a mixture of traditional paracetamol-based medicines such as Lemsips and hot paracetamol drinks, and using this tonic water recipe. It looks to be working, to be honest, although I'm no medical expert.
If they're trying to stop us from taking it, it must be some sort of cure. I don't fully understand it, though.
Whether it's a cure or not, I don't know, Dumpster, but I know one thing. It seems to ease the symptoms, and I suppose if we can stop it or just moderate it, we don't have to cure it if we can knock it down to, say, the intensity of a common cold.
What's your take on the countdown for April? What kind of timeline are we looking at? What events are in the pipes?
For me, between the 12th and the 16th, and anything, to be honest, we've all been waiting with mouth-watering anticipation for what's coming down the highway. I think we could be seeing some action of some description between the 12th and the 16th. That's just my opinion and the opinion of some of the guys I've been talking.
Yeah, there's a lot of buzz, but I can't pin down the dates or the events.
I'd like to think they'd start with some arrests. Who, I don't know. But I think we could be seeing some significant action that we could count as a boom on between those dates. That's my 10 pence worth anyway.
Wow. Wow. It's actually happening, guys.
Think about it, guys. Unless, I know there's been some talk of various Anons that the SES Serco problem has been dealt with. However, I haven't seen any tangible evidence or claims to back this up really from official sources. So for me, until I can see the thing dead at my feet, I'll just pretend that it's still alive. And if Serco, Crown Agency, SES, it's still got its tendrils within the US administration and the various levels of government and office, then we really need to see this 30-day send-home occur within this shutdown. This is perfect. There won't be too many other situations on the run-up to the election where we have a viable, valid excuse to send these leeches, these parasites, off on 30 days, and at the end of that 30 days, their contracts drop to 99 cents and they can be disposed of, which I don't think we're going to waste that. So I don't know, maybe we're going to see the start of a 30-day countdown from sometime in that period of time if the government gets sent home en masse.
Right, so the job's not done. Keep our guard up, keep the pressure on, keep getting the information out there.
And now's a good time to be red pilling people. Everybody's now away from the distractions that their former life provided. They're in big groups together, and they're in places where mentally where you can reach them because they're in the fight or flight mode, and they've already decided to sit it out and wait at home and fight whatever they got coming, and that means they're paying attention. All of their senses are hyper alert because they feel them or their loved ones are in danger. This has a positive side for red pilling people. People are much more open and much more likely to consider other scenarios, other ways forward, other viewpoints, if their own asses or their family's asses are on the line. And that would very much appear to be the case to the greater amount of people now. I've been having an amazing time red pilling folk.
I would like to
Good morning,
hook onto
and,
that.
Go ahead, Scott.
That 30 that you were talking about reminds me of a Q post that says "done in 30."
Yeah, I think that's appertaining to the SES as well. We can't be free. We can't win the war and crown agents from within our midst in all countries, but especially in the US. I believe that's exactly what that's appertaining to.
Hey, for those who don't
I'm
know,
in
can you
agreement.
give an explanation of what the SES is?
Yeah, Crown Agency Serco has a staff, sort of a super employment agency, and with this employment agency, they get to fill various positions, both the DOJ, like all of the Attorney Generals, all of the Assistant Attorney Generals. They team up with the Bar Association and all of the legal secretaries and stuff like that. They run most of the top appointments for the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy. They pretty much in control of vast proportions of the US machine prior to POTUS. POTUS, I believe, when he ran the shutdown last year, in my humble opinion, he was doing a dry run for what's coming now very soon.
Yeah, these people.
Onto that.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
They
There's
hold accreditations. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There's one of the last article I didn't get to discuss was from the Highwire with Dell Bigtree, and it hooks on to this what's just been said. China reports that it is no longer on lockdown, and that China's province of Hubei is almost back to normal, and factories and businesses are opening left and right. And Bigtree's question is this: how is it possible that not too many weeks ago China had all this stuff going on with COVID-19 and is now all of a sudden on its way to going back to normal? Did they come to the conclusion that lockdown didn't work and they have now achieved herd immunity? Or is there another agenda, looking at the rest of the world being on lockdown or close to it?
That's an interesting
Look at the population density in China and see the infection rates. At first, some of us, me included, we pondered if it was a gene-specific weapon aimed at just the Chinese, and we were proved wrong on that because of the infection rates here now in Spain and Italy have surpassed China. I think we're seeing something that's more gene-specific to us, and I think we're going to have it's going to have a worse effect on us in the long run than it did in China. Although a lot of the information and a lot of the stuff that's been sold to us is blown out of all proportions. POTUS himself said to everybody that was listening, on a good, or in this case, a bad, strong flu season, the United States would look at losing about 70,000 people. Now, if you apply those same statistics to what we're seeing today, we don't come anywhere even a mild flu season. So I'm not over panicking about about the effects of the virus long term. I feel very sorry and I send my condolences to all those unfortunate souls that lose family members and loved ones. That's very real. My major concern for the West is the supply chains have been cut. If you were fighting a war against the West, you fight it just like this. First and foremost, you go through its supply chains. And this is what appears to be happening. Some Anons are really awake to it and are really keeping eagle eyes on exactly what they can find out from China. Because I think there's a lot of info to come out about the true origins and about the true reasons for this virus. And I think some of them could be trade orientated, trade war, that kind of stuff. Just my opinion.
Yeah, and I feel one of the reasons that they may be going back so quickly is because they're realizing where they're standing in the world right now, that they're losing buyers of their products, and they're losing the ability to be able to control the supply chain. And I also feel that being that they are a communist country, really the only way that you can grow or that you can keep the economy stable is to keep growing. Once you stop growing in a communist society, you start backsliding in a way that lowers your GDP, and it's hard for the economy to keep chugging along. And I do believe that they have now realized that they're not growing; they're losing the opportunity to supply the world, and they're trying desperately now to also pick up other countries to be able to supply too. So that's just my opinion.
I know one thing. POTUS is definitely out there so far in front of world leaders. You guys are lucky. You know that anyway, but this guy's got his finger on every pulse. I think in the world, whilst the population demography may not help you with the sheer number of people you've got, I think the United States will weather this with Trump at the helm, and will show the rest of the world exactly how to do it, exactly how to put it to bed. And there's the moment that the US industrial base is able to regear itself and restart, I have every faith that the master of timing will be on it. I'm still, however, completely convinced in the white hat side of the how this has been grabbed and seized from the black hats, and I'm still convinced that we will be at home and the general levels of alert will gradually increase, as they are here in Spain, as they are and did in Italy, gradually increase until they get the lockdowns that they require, because we don't want to be on the streets, we don't want to be in the way, we can't help, we can't participate, we're best off safe with our loved ones, with our supplies, and huddled up and waiting for the white hats to say, do you know what? We've done what we were going to do in this stage. They go back to work, because that's the way I believe it's going to roll out.
Yeah, I don't think that the virus was a white hat operation at all. I think it was definitely black hats to snatch the narrative, and it just accelerated the Q plan. That's the working model that I have at the moment.
Yeah, I honestly believe that this was to probably be rolled out, at a later date. And I feel that, just like you said, that it was boomerang, and it was taken away from them, and they've lost control of it now. And, I really do believe that they threw this out there early, and weren't really prepared as they thought they were, but they had to do something to try to hang around the neck of President Trump, to really fault him with this and his handling of this. But so far, it's been outstanding here in the United States. I believe that we're really better prepared now to be able to combat this virus, and to bring stability here. And we're hoping for that, praying for that. But I do believe that they brought this out as a last hope thinking that they would be able to shut down the world, to stop feeding the sheep, and to cause mass chaos throughout the world and here in the States.
I certainly hope so, sir. I really do. If it doesn't happen now, it's probably not going to happen at all. So we are looking at imminent events. And at this point, any change at all is good. If you look back on human history over the last century, it's been the darkest age of humanity ever. I don't think I'm drawing a long bow there.
No, and I think that you're very correct in your statement. Imminent event. The white hats have stood straight up, face to face with this evil and with this virus and with this plan that the black hats had for us, and they are combating it. And it truly is a silent enemy. And we're answering the call. And people around the world in other countries are standing up as well and answering the call, not just for their governments, but also for their people, to preserve life, not to take it.
And like Sativa was just saying, this is very, very fertile ground for red pill information. If we can't wake people up right now, they're just going to have to like it or lump it at a certain point. But I think if we can get information out now, that will prevent panic later. We have to be midwives at this point of the operation, I think. But you're right, the job's not over, and the job's not going to be over for decades. This is just the easy part of the plan. The hard work that we have to put in to rebuild the world will make our efforts so far look pretty small. This is just the beginning.
I'd like to say hello to Regina, Amanda R, Doxy, and Rochelle Papoutsis in YouTube. Thank you for supporting us, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much.
What they didn't count on when they started this chaos off was the byproduct. They didn't think far enough ahead to see what kind of executive orders or emergency powers would come into play that would circumvent their routes out, circumvent their controls, circumvent any influence they had on it. It was a sort of, for me, desperate last gasp shake of the dice. They knew what was coming and they wanted to roll out some chaos. So they rolled the chaos out and they got it, but they got organised chaos, falling with style, because it was all arranged. Everybody knew what was coming. You don't think POTUS had just the jump ahead and didn't tell any of the allies or any of the friends? What I've witnessed here in Spain for a pandemic is a measured response, a non-panic response. The police and the emergency services dancing in the streets with the public at night time. These are not police and emergency services, and in some cases military, that are getting ready to round these people up. These are people that are very much at one with the population. I hear the same in Italy, and I'm sure the same will ensue in France, the UK, and the rest of the world, including North America. Just when this rolls out, remember one thing: all of the things you get coming out that are federal are with the blessed intent of POTUS, and anything you get coming out on the state side is as inconvenient or as not good for the current situation as it may seem, are really transitory and temporary, because at the end of this clean out, before this is shut down, before this so-called virus has gone away, many of the people who are causing chaos in places like California, Arizona, and various other places, they got to stand up and and they got judgment coming. I really do believe that.
I don't think this is quite their last gasp. I still think we're looking at an entrenched enemy, well armed, motivated, probably well trained as well. It's going to be they're going to go out in a hail of bullets. It's going to get messy. Of that much, I am sure.
we predicted back in big Patriot News talks that we had years ago when we were asking the Anons to do some kind of research on what they knew about numbers, deep state numbers and stuff like that, worldwide and across the US. We came back with between 2.5 million and 5 million arrests in the continental US and 20 to 25 million arrests worldwide over a period of something like 16 years.
Is this why they're clearing out the jails of non-violent offenders and prison barges at Gitmo and a revamp of Gitmo as well? That's an absolutely staggering number of people to be arrested. My thoughts go back to the Truth and Reconciliation movement in South Africa. How does this play out? Because the only precedent that I can think of for this kind of action is the Nuremberg trials in 1945 and 1946, and that was less than 300 people. So if we're talking about millions of people, holy shit, this is going to be unbelievable.
Well, and what really got with the Nuremberg thing, how much of it was really just a show?
That's a good point.
You know, because if they're still around now, why weren't they removed then? Because they were all in on it.
Right, so we have to get rid of them root, branch, and seed. That's the implications.
Like a planter's wart.
Anyway.
Well, I do believe that a lot of these people were surveilled, and they were actually, actually gaining information on these black hats in a way that would, bolster the crimes against them.
Dumpster and Sativa, Sativa talks a lot about the Serco thing. We were just talking about SDS. I don't know how many of you remember from early on in the Q movement when we got this document that I dropped, but if I drop these pictures, you might recognize the document. Hang on 2 seconds.
Gotcha.
Thanks, Gold Star. I remember us doing some very
Remember those?
Gigs. Yes.
Hang on. I'm going to bring that
I
up full screen so that the folks at home can see.
This document is it's a link. It's fbcoverup.com. It's deep state shadow government. There's a legend that describes all of the symbols in each one of them. And I'm going to pull up just Gordon Davidson, for example. I'll blow him up a little bit bigger for you.
Take good note, because these are the assholes that are running the country. Gordon K. Davidson, Fenwick and West LLP, Facebook, Leader Technologies, Caslight Health, CIA. Nice pick, Gold Star. You just put a face on the end.
Okay, so there's 400 and some names on here. Each one has a picture, and there's different symbols in it. And so for this guy, for instance, he is an attorney. He's toxic. He's corrupt. I still have not figured out what the legend of the colored letters A through L mean, because there are a couple people in there that it doesn't go all the way up to L. I still haven't figured that part out. But deeper into that document, there's all kinds of things, or whatever you want to call that link, there's all kinds of info. But the thing that I want you to pay attention to, too, is, can you see the fly?
No, ma'am, I cannot.
What part of the picture is it in?
Do you see the
I
fly?
see it. Yes, ma'am.
Some of them have flies on them. Some are on their name, some are on their ears, some are on their collar, some have two. So I don't know what the fly means yet either. And I made a chart, started a spreadsheet a long time ago and downloaded all these names. And you can kind of also look when you're hearing things about lawyers and law practices that like Obama was connected to or something, or people that are involved with these impeachment trials and stuff. Out of curiosity, go and look and see if you can find any of those names on this list. It's pretty insane. But the other thing I recall when we were digging on this one is the one that really stood out to us was the number of people on the list that are from the patent office. And maybe somebody else can speak more to the patent thing. And I think Sativa, you talked about that quite a bit before, about how important that was. But these are the people these are bad people.
Like I just said, Gold Star, you just put a face on the enemy. Thank you.
It's reputed that there are over 450,000 of these people throughout the United States government machine.
Didn't Q drop?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Hear you. Sorry, mate. Didn't Q drop a couple of photos from Twitter or somewhere where Obama and Hillary had flies on their face?
Yeah, Obama, he was giving a speech and the fly was flying around him. And Hillary, that was at a debate against President Trump, I'm pretty sure, when it was landing on her.
Guys, we're walking all over Scope. Every time Scope goes to speak, one of us is walking on him. I'm sorry, Scope.
Oh, no trouble. I was just going to offer the fact that, it's this organization that grabs these people up and gives them accreditations to be able to hold these offices. And it is from this pool that they pull the people to run these organizations. And Gold Star, I'm not so certain that these letters on the bottom may be the boards that these people are affiliated with, because these people all sit on each other's boards so that they can get the votes and move the company in the direction of the plan that the Black Cats have been pushing for decades. So that way they can all vote and move the companies in directions that are beneficial to their plan, not so much ours. So I'm not so certain, but there may be a correlation there. I'm not sure what exactly, A, B, or C calls out as far as boards, but you might find that these people sit on the boards of the other people within this organization that are basically selected to run these top positions in these various branches of government and organizations throughout the world.
If you want me to DM you some stuff later, Dumpster, on SES, Serco, and the Clown, and the connections between the three to our battle, I'll gladly do that, sir. I'll send you a pile over, okay?
I understand entirely the situation with Serco. It's the umbrella corporation that runs the world. You don't have to send me the information. I was bringing it up for discussion so that the folks playing at home can play along as well. That's all.
Yeah, there's a Secret Service aspect to it as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask Steve if you could just briefly give us a synopsis of why this is so important that it ties in, some of these people tie in with the patent office and how they skim these patents off of people and hold them for themselves and keep them from the world.
Yeah, this is not. We've come across lots of information with the Clinton Foundation and the Clinton Associates and the patent office scams that have been going on. This has been going on around the world with the same organisation, I believe, being an umbrella over all of it. It all feeds back into the Red Dragon machine, the Rothschild Jesuit Vatican machine. They're all serfs and familiars for this. I believe that the whole thing will come undone when the RICO case is started against the Vatican. I think that is absolutely inevitable. And when it does, we're going to see with these foundations, with these trusts, we're going to see all of the patent crimes that have come to light. Look at the famous one with Clinton and the chip that the guy was, and then the chip became the ownership of, quite fortunately for them, the Clintons. This has been going on across all echoes and walks of industry and the sciences. Much of the stuff that should be patented for existence, for instance, to the good of mankind, is being shelved. And
would you like to address the topic?
New forms of energy and...
Oh, sorry, sir.
When POTUS speaks of new forms of energy and a revolution in the energy future for us, I believe that all this is linked. We are going to see this whole corrupt patent scam come undone around the world, and not just regionally. I think it's going to be a global thing, and there's going to be a new system with new checks and balances, so this can't happen again on anybody's shift.
Yeah, there's a quote that comes to mind, and it comes from an American president who I can't quite name, and it goes something like this. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance, and the tree of freedom, or whatever it was, it needs to be watered from time to time with the blood of patriots. We're getting rid of them now, but we have to stand guard against them forever, because old things like this simply do not die easily. They just change forms very slightly, and we've seen that all the way through history. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance.
We've talked about term limits often with our US counterparts, and I believe that they are fully on the game and over the target with the aims and the requests and the demands that any future government set will be faced after what we are exposing here. I think that the old dynastical way of doing things is gone. It's done. The two-party system, as we know it, as soon as POTUS uses the Awan arrow that he has stored to fire from his backpack whenever he wants, the two-party system is dead. Nobody will trust the Democrats for 50 years, if ever again. And with no Democratic Party, the two-party system can't exist. All of the others together couldn't match the Republican base. So it would be a new political way of doing things. When that comes, everything that we think has been normal up until now, we have to get our head round. It's part of the beast system. It was part of the system to control us. This is a new beginning, boys and girls. This is a new crossroads, as he said, in our civilization. And the path that we're taking right now means pulling this system down to the ground, raising it to the ground, and rebuilding it from the floor upwards, because we got to get rid of the whole system. And I believe that's what we're watching. That's why it's taking so long.
Remember, the enemy is thousands of years old, diabolical beyond words, coordinated beyond words, and taking them down will not be an easy process. We can scoop up the leadership and we can enforce laws for the bottom of the pyramid, but it's that middle region of people that like the ones Goldstar Mum just mentioned. That's going to be the problematic area for enforcing law.
Listen, in their bid to dominate the world, they were fascinated by many things, but one of the things that was the top of their list of to-dos every day was they kept a scrupulous record of their position in the hierarchy, their society, their civilization, their race, their families are very much a hierarchical entity, and therefore, because of their egotistical, symbolic, need to be flamboyant natures, things like Burke's Peerage and other great publications list every one of them and their connections. I would offer to everybody that when this is done, when this is finished, we've been told their symbols will lead us straight to their doors. Well, so will their So will their hierarchical concern with Burke's Peerage and other notable books, because we will know who Brad Pitt and who Angelina Jolie or Angelina Pitt or Angel of the Pit is related to. We can trace them because they told us.
Somewhere on this planet there is one hell of a family tree that will answer a lot of our questions, that much is sure. By the time this is said and done, the documents in our possession will be absolutely mind-blowing. Of suppressed information, family trees, bloodlines, manipulation of history. As Sativa just said, it's all been recorded. And it's going to be there and available for us to study once this is done. And I, for one...
There are a number...
Go for it.
There's a number of anons, Dumpster. You and I probably know most of them, who absolutely saved everything offline. This is evidence. What we're doing every time we dig, every time we reach a conclusion that we can check for its veracity and check that it's absolutely factual. When we do that, that's evidence for a future court.
On that note, mate, the stuff that we dig up, it's not in the value of the individual nuggets of information. It's in the aggregation of the information. And remember, what we do here, it is admissible in a court of law as evidence. What we have done will provide accurate intel for the actual prosecutions themselves. And if you look at the movement, the amount of information that we have generated, I would imagine Q is well pleased with the harvest.
Oh, over the years since QNN and all of the great anons I've had the privilege of working alongside and talking to and debating with, we've been winning from day one, and all of that information, every bit of it, has been correlated in many places, stored and archived. It's ready and it's growing, and it will keep growing until its day of need, until its day of use. And don't think for 1 minute that the powers that be, the white hats, are not looking down on these humble channels and these humble servers, because they are. They're watching us myopically. What good is an army if you can't get the information from the army? And we are a digital army.
Yes, and we've been told before that the information that we're bringing forth in these channels, like you said, they've been watching, they've been gathering, and they've also said that, certain anons, certain boards, have released information that has helped them move in different directions that they may not have even thought of, that have been very useful. So with all of us joining this hive mind and bringing forth this information from all areas of the world, it helps them gather so much information that will definitely, harden the lock on the case that they have against these evildoers.
Here, brother.
Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about what this group right here, what we are looking at the moment, is a spontaneous social organization that was generated by the Q plan. We're an army, we're an effective army. And I think that you're right. The information that we collate and gather and research and the analysis thereof, I think it's been very helpful to the Q team and so forth. Makes you feel rather small, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I would encourage something we're looking at and actually participating in my server right now. We feel it's about time we got back to some really pure Q decoding and going back over the posts and seeing if we've missed anything and just dotting the I's and crossing the T's. I've heard Gold Star doing it in Patriot News and various other servers I know are doing it. I think maybe it's a good time for us all to go over, because remember what they said. We have everything. You have more than you know, or more than you realise. I think we're still missing key bits.
Carmen has actually gone through the posts with a fine-tooth comb more than once. Carmen, honey, have you got anything to add here?
Well, not really, because he speaks in such a coded manner that even though I've read them several times and tried to relate them to other things he pointed us at, I still don't understand a lot of it, but I know the ball is rolling.
Well, Q has told us that the skips, the spaces are important. The formation of sentences are important. The spellings are important. The capitalizations are important. There's so much in these Q drops that you could spend a considerable amount of time just looking at the spacing, just looking at the organization and formation of the sentencing, looking at the dots. What if by chance the dots related to Braille, and we were getting messages through Braille? There's several ways to look at the decodes that have not been explored just yet.
Exactly. And then we've got information like the stringers that are included that I can make neither head nor tail of. I'm positive there's information there that I simply that I can't make sense of. It's incredibly dense information. Incredibly dense information. And this goes back to the actual entity creating the Q posts, which I don't actually believe is human. The Q posts are so complicated and dense and well structured and anticipatory in terms of future events. I think at the very least it was put together using some sort of predictive programming. And I won't go into the details, but I think that Q is actually an alien entity. Strange days. But my personal strength is not in decoding Q. I leave that to others, and I rely on other people's opinions.
I personally think it's a team of people. We've seen a difference in the styling and the way the posts go. We know almost that there's a team of people involved, and we're talking to different people with different styles.
And
it's also being suggested that even the pictures, or not all pictures, but some pictures, Q posts contain a message for those in the know.
Well, and I've been...
Yes. Go ahead, Ghost Star. I'm sorry to step on you like that. Forgive me.
No, we just jumped through the door at the same time. It's okay. At the yesterday, for example, there were posts that were coming up, and under the pictures, you have a JPEG number, and sometimes that JPEG number, when you do the gematria calculator, so it will take you to a Q post that is absolutely relevant. So we started to redo that yesterday. We quit doing that for a while because we really got beat up over that. But that decode thing that we did yesterday totally lined up with everything that was going on.
Yeah, and for me, reading the first 64 posts, it was only a couple of days ago, going through those posts again, that I realized the first 64 posts are a synopsis of everything that comes after. It's incredible. I am absolutely in awe of this military operation. It's unbelievable. Anyway, folks, it's just hit 12 a.m. for me. If we can wrap this up within 15 minutes, that'll save me a lot of stress in processing the video.
Yes, absolutely, Bouncer. It's just amazing the amount. We touched on it today. The amount of information that we've been giving or given the breadcrumbs that have been put together, the people around the world and the artists on the Chan boards who have been able to formulate this, we call them the bakers, who take the crumbs and who bake the bread, to link and tie a lot of this together. It is now, is coming from everywhere. The information is coming from the Anon boards like these, the Chan boards, people who, have a way in their own minds of being able to link things together and get them out there for people to see and to study and to use their own discernment, to figure out whether, this ties in with what's going on. It's just so phenomenal. The times that we're living in are truly amazing and have never happened before in the history of mankind. It's almost as if we're seeing a new birth.
Yeah. What I would add to that is, right now, this very instant, wake up as many folk as you can. We're in the middle of combat triage, and there's going to be cases of people who completely freak out. That's what we're going to have to deal with. And it's going to go easier if we can bring people to consciousness now, rather than let the information coming out of whatever forms of media they use busting their bubble, so to speak. And Carmen wants a prayer from Scope. Absolutely. When you're ready, sir.
Oh, can I cut in, please, for one more thing?
Sure, man. We got like 12, 14 minutes or so. Go for it.
This comes from Belgium an hour ago. Belgian cat infected with coronavirus. Remarkable news from Belgium, because this is the first cat known of that's been infected with the coronavirus. The cat had diarrhea, vomited, had breathing problems, and in her poop they found the coronavirus. The cat has been infected a week after her owner got infected and is recovering.
Okay, guys, I'm going to kick back. We're up to wrapping up. Goldstar Mum, Carmen Morrison, and myself, we would love to hear a prayer from Scope. Other than that, bits and pieces, loose ends, anything at all. Sorry, go for it.
I just want, related to what you were just saying about the time that we're in now in this mission. This is the tweet that I did yesterday because it occurred to me. Something occurred to me here. What I'm noticing out there is people are having conversations and bantering back and forth, arguing with those that are not awake. But the argument is not being supported by any documentation, by any links to anything, and the issue that I have with that is, isn't that what we've been preparing for 2 years? So why are people out there in Twitter land and all wasting their breath without providing documentation? Because you're going to just waste your time going around in circles. So I put out this call to action yesterday and just reminding each other that when we are tweeting to use those hashtags, to use links, to incorporate images, and those, there's the reason why the Anons are the meme machine, so let's take our tweets and stuff up to another level where maybe it's not specifically answering that specific question, but it's a nugget that will capture their attention, which might lead to the next thing. And because after all, that's what we're here for. That's what we've been preparing for and training for the last 2 years, is for now. So let's do it justice.
Amen. Amen, sister. Glad to share a foxhole with you.
You just want me to bring the banana bread, I know.
No. What I want is you made, what's it called? Not hotcakes. Cornbread. If I ever meet you, can you cook me up some cornbread, please, Mum?
how about corn sticks in an antique 1920s cast iron crusty cob baking pan?
That actually sounds fantastic. Scope, would you like to lead us in prayer, please? As soon as you can.
Yes, absolutely. Let me get my heart right for just a moment. Father God, we pray to you on this day, in these times of uncertainty. Lord Father, there's so much information out there that people are looking at, that they're fumbling through. We ask, Lord God, that you help them find the truth in the information they seek. Give them the ability to find friends and people who are in the know, who may be able to point them and direct them so that they may ease their mind, their curiosity, their anxiousness, their loneliness, and their unsurety in what is happening. Lord Father, these times that we're in are very hard. We feel, Lord God, that this is your plan. This is your plan of the awakening. And we ask you to hold us up and strengthen us in our fight for what is right, in our righteous fight to undo what has been done to your people, to stop the madness, and to bring joy and grace and love into this world. We ask, Father, that you help us do this. And we feel that you are with us. We see the signs. We feel them in our hearts. And we ask that you continue to protect our president, protect the administration, and the other leaders around the world who are joining together in this great plan to help release all of these world hostages who are being held under the thumbs of these evil people, and to rescue the world and to rescue your children. Lord God, we ask for stability at this time. We ask for your mercy in dealing with this world virus and helping us see our way through this. We ask that you bring your doctors, your medicines, to the knowledge of these people so that they may be able to find a cure that works for all races, all humankind around the world. We ask, Lord Father, that you help us on this journey, and we know that you're there with us. Show us, Lord God, that you are thy God and that you are leading us. Help us to understand that by following you and following this plan, that we shall not only save ourselves, but save the world, humanity, spirituality, and the oneness that we seek with you. Lord God, we put our trust in you. We put our faith and love in you. And we thank you for all of these victories that you have helped us gain, whether they be large or small. We thank you, Lord God, for these things, for they truly are blessings upon humanity. And Lord God, thank you so much for these platforms around the world that enable us to be able to get together, to not only praise you, but to find the truth and disseminate the truth throughout the unknown, the places where people do not have opportunity. We want to bring them the opportunity. Help us to do this, Lord God. Help us to understand what it is you have us see in this plan. And we thank you for Q. We thank you for the teams that you have put together in this time to help lead us and assure us and guide us as we triumph against evil. Protect us, O Lord. Protect everyone in this room and everyone around the world who knows you and those who don't. We that you help them find their way. We ask, Lord God, that you protect us spiritually. Prevent attacks from us being brought upon us, so that any ill doing, any ill will toward us or our property are stifled in your word and in your power. Lord God, in these things we pray in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen, sir.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Okay, time's getting tight. There was one more article that needs to be addressed that Oz just zapped me. I'm going to read for you 3 paragraphs from the Wall Street Journal. So, the past 4 years have been some of the most contentious and embarrassing in American history. Squabbling over trivialities has left the public frantic and divided, oblivious to the transcendent. But the pandemic has humbled the country and opened millions of eyes to this risky universe once more. Sheer grimness of suffering brings men sometimes into a profounder understanding of human destiny, Butterfield wrote. Sometimes it is only by a cataclysm, he continued, that man can make his escape from the net which he has taken so much trouble to weave around himself. For societies founded on the biblical tradition, cataclysms need not mark the end. They are a call for repentance and revival. As the coronavirus pandemic subjects US hospitals to a fearsome test, Americans can find solace in the same place that Butterfield did. Great struggle can produce great clarity. I'm going to pop up now and do a few bits and pieces. Carmen, when it's time to empty the room, can you play the last song, please, and then sign off? I'm taking a back seat at the moment. Take as much time as you need. If the video runs long, that's just a small hassle. But please, if you have anything to address, anything to say or share or offer up as prayer, anything at all. But like I said, I'm backing out of the room now.
I really liked that last thing you read. Yes, this is definitely the time to be called to repentance for the whole country. And if everybody wants to say their farewells, I'll go ahead and tell you, remember what's important, and we'll see you Monday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern. And Oz has our song to go out on.
Thank you, Discord. Thank you, Dumpster. Thank you, YouTube. Every one of you, be calm, be safe, and be assured that we are indeed winning.
Puppy Max says hi from the Netherlands. Have a good weekend all, and stay safe.
Yes, all those who need rest and who need to rest your eyes and your body, we bless you and we thank you for letting us share this time with you. And we ask that you get good rest and rest well, patriots, for tomorrow we truly keep fighting them.
There are times in life when things get overwhelming, and I've gone as far and as long as I can go. When I need the most, my fading friend to stop me. Lord, you're there, you bring comfort to my soul. And I believe in you. Every word that I've heard, and I know it's true. And when I'm walking through the valleys, you will lead me through. 'Cause I believe in you. I must walk by faith and not by sight, you told me. And it's rewards for those I know that seek your face. But I can use a glimpse right now, Lord, of your glory. And in my darkest hour, you give me strength. 'Cause I believe in you. Every word that I heard, and I know it's true. And when I'm walking through the valleys, you will lead me through. 'Cause I believe you're with me, and I will trust in you. I raise my hand, sing hallelujah. For you are worthy of our praise. When the storm comes, Lord, I am running to you. And I will glorify your name. But you've walked my shoes and felt my pain and suffering. And you took the nails for me while I was lost. And all the trials that I go through, Lord, they are nothing, no, compared to what you went through on that cross. Raise my hand, sing hallelujah. For you are worthy of all praise. When the storm comes, Lord, I am running to you. I will glorify your name. 'Cause I believe in you. Every word that I wrote, and I know it's true. And when I'm walking through the valley, you will lead me through. 'Cause I believe you're with me, and I will trust in you. And when I'm walking through the valley, you will lead me through. 'Cause I believe you're with me, and I will trust in you. Trust in you. Trust in you. Trust in you.
Okay, that's the 27th of March 2020, and we're out.
One more in the bag, and one day